Man, you see what's going on in Washington?
Well, the people in power, whether red or blue, they could not care less about Texas, me and you. They created this give me country that don't value hard work. For a Texan to survive, all we need are some seeds and dirt. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. In family, and we value our community. Gladly lend a helping hand to a neighbor in need. And we don't believe that government should provide for all of society's needs. No, it's the pride of a Texan to give to others voluntarily. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. They like our tax dollars, and they love our natural resources. They don't want to see us driving trucks, they'd rather see us riding horses. Now they wanna ban our guns, you know, especially the ones that look scary. But may I remind you of the Gonzales Cannon and the Alamo heroes we buried. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country, for it's long. This last verse is straight from the Texas Constitution, Article 1, Section 1 and 2. Look it up. Texas is an independent state, yet presently we suffer. We no longer possess the right to locally self-govern. And now it's time as a people in which all political power is inherent. And in such manner we find expedient, we reform or abolish our government. I said, Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. Texan
Oh, hey, good evening, fellow Texians. It's me, Daniel Miller, and it's time for late night coffee talk. I mistimed that one, man. I was going for it. I was going for another swallow of coffee, and boom, there you were. Yeah, it's a timing thing. I don't know. What do you do, right? Well, anyway, hey, thank you so much for those of you who are first timers here. I am Daniel Miller, president of the Texas Nationalist Movement, and this is my late night coffee talk. That one time a week where I take a break from what I'm doing. And as you can see, I still got tie on, right? I mean, so it's happening over here. But when I take a break in the middle of my workday, 9:30, right? And just decompress, talk about the week, what's on my mind, plus interact with every one of you out there. You guys can submit your questions, your comments via the chat. If you're on either of the Facebook pages that this is on, I say either. I think it's on 3 or 4 now. Or either of the YouTube channels, whether it's the TNM's YouTube channel or my YouTube channel or Twitch, or I think we're on Roku again tonight. And I mean, we're all over the place, right? So if you have chat available on any of the sort of public facing things, then feel free to jump in, sound off, let me know who you are, where you're from. And of course, for the duration of our time tonight, over the next hour, you can drop your questions and comments. And time permitting, I will answer questions because I do it every single solitary week and have for a very long time now. You help guide the show, but obviously I come to the table with things I want to talk about. So just a quick reminder before we get started. If you are joining us on the TNM's YouTube channel, Super Chat is live. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, right? Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Make sure you get notified every time we go live. And Super Chat is active. So that means if you make a contribution during this broadcast on the YouTube channel in the chat, 100% of those proceeds go right to the work of the TNM. And then of course, if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, we don't have super chat, but please do like and subscribe and hit that notification bell as well. If you're watching on any of the Facebook pages, do what you can over there. Like, comment, share, like, comment, share. The more you do that, the more it helps us defeat the algorithm that keeps us suffocated and hidden from people who really need to participate, right? Twitter, you know what to do over there. All those other things, do it. I'm not going to spend 15 minutes going through every single ridiculous amount of, you know, these. I mean, there's just too many. There's too many social media options. I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. I literally, if you guys saw the news, the TNM announced that we've got a new tech director right now, Cheryl Miller. No relation, but it would be cool if we were related because she's awesome. Taking over as our technology director, and interestingly enough, we were having that conversation about how many various social media platforms there are and how we get requests to be on every single one of them. It's like we'd have to have a staff of 30 people just to cover social media. Just literally that aspect of it if we were everywhere and engaged 24/7 on those things. So we do what we can. Just bear with us as we fight through the same social media fragmentation as everyone else. Interesting stuff. We've got a tremendous amount to talk about tonight. And if you saw the description in this, then obviously we're going to talk TEXIT, even though I don't have my TEXIT Now mug, right? I've got this mug. Anybody know what this is? Anyone? Sound off in chat if you do. But those of you who know, these words say seek, strike, and destroy. And this is what we have been doing to the opposition lately. It's just like we're hunting them into their nests, and we're rooting them out and digging them out, and then we're just dropping the hammer on these guys, dropping the bombs on them left and right. And I'm going to tell you what, there's nothing that makes me happier than causing gastrointestinal distress for the opposition, especially when they do and say things so ridiculous. And here's the thing: last week I talked about how many of you were going to be going out and participating in political party conventions for the first time. Some of you are veterans at it. And I told you what their argumentation was going to be, right? That the kind of opposition you would get, what they would say, how they would behave. And was I kidding? Right? I wasn't making that up. They literally have a single playbook that they read out of. Like they all do it. They every single one of them. It's amazing how utterly ridiculous how limited they are, the opposition that is, on their ability to process information. I mean, it's just, they're like, oh, it's just, treason, blah blah blah, whatever. It's hilarious. But interestingly enough, tonight I have got a couple of stories from some of the conventions, including video footage of one of the debates that happened in one of the county conventions, Republican Party county convention. Plus, I've got a narrative that was sent in by someone who attended the Galveston County GOP convention. Additionally, we're going to talk about what's going on with the media, right? I'm not dressed like this because I sit around my house like this all the time, right? I mean, I have to do professional things, but this is because the media is going kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs when it comes to TEXIT all of a sudden. So we'll definitely talk about that. But before I get to any of those things, I do want to remind you guys right now. One of the things I want to start off with, oddly enough, is I had an all hands on deck meeting with all of our local and district leadership the other night. Right, we all got on a Zoom call. And let me tell you, if you've ever been on a Zoom with a lot of people, those screens get really tiny before it flips over and gives you a second page, right? I thought I had experienced that to a certain degree when I participated in the Republican convention 2 years ago, and they held it via Zoom, which was a ridiculous mess. I mean, any of you guys who did the in person this time and called it the old crap show did not have to live through the Zoom convention, which was a total uh, it was just horrible. There's just no other way to describe it. But so I met with all of our local leadership. Now, if you will recall, I have been over the last several weeks encouraging you to get over to the website tnm.me / local groups, find a local group and join. Okay. And additionally, if there was not a local group in your area, to be sure that you volunteer to organize one, right? So if you go to that local groups page and there's not a local group there, why don't you stick your hand in the air and say, I will be the leader that's needed in my community, right? I will stand up and be that person, and go to tnm.me / local. But we had an all hands on deck meeting. I guess it was Monday night. And I had everyone on there because I wanted to give them some perspective, right? I made a mention during the post-election coffee talk, and I'll throw this back up there. I told everyone, get some perspective, get mad, and get serious, right? And I wanted everyone to assure everyone that was engaged in going out there and doing the real hard work in the communities for the TNM, that number one, we had a plan moving forward. And number two, that they and you were an integral part of making it happen. It would be impossible to pull off without everyone, all hands on deck. But additionally, I wanted to give a little perspective. And at the very beginning of it, I reminded everyone of the thing that I talked about a few weeks ago, which was, that short-term thinking that I talked about in the TEXIT book, which is moved it off my desk temporarily, right? The chapter on short-term thinking as the one of the impediments to making TEXIT happen. Okay. But beyond that, I wanted to give everyone some perspective because I had heard that there's some people out there that are honestly, super discouraged after, and ready to throw their hands up and be all ridiculous and curl up in a ball and suck their thumb because they didn't perceive what happened on March the 1st as a win. Because we didn't get everything, then I'll be upset. I'll throw my hands in the air. I'll suck my thumb. I'll go crawl in a hole somewhere and whine and complain. It's like, no. You guys got to get some perspective. And what I reminded everyone was, and I'm not talking about the people that were on that meeting, because they're the ones out there busting their humps. They're the ones out there that were organizing events and slamming and jamming to get petition signatures. They got their hands in the air and they're saying, hey, I'm ready to do something, right? I'm ready to do something today, just like I was the day before and the day before. You know what? That's the Texian spirit, right? But interestingly enough, what had been reported by some people is they thought it was an absolute wipeout for us on election day. And granted, it's upsetting what happened, and we're still working that particular issue. Just a reminder: if you have any election irregularities to report, send them over to electionfraud@vtnm.org. And all of you investigators and whistleblowers that have already contacted us, thank you very much. The next few weeks are about to be very fun for us and very unpleasant for the establishment. Just saying. But that being said, there were some people that out there that are painting this as an absolute blind. And yeah, I would have loved to have won, right? But just like so many things, it's about gaining ground, right? It's about gaining ground. And we've gained ground, right? March the 1st was not a blowout, right? We weren't shut out. Let me just throw some things at you, just so you have some perspective. All three candidates for ag commissioner were Take Texas Back candidates. They were our Texas First candidates. They signed our pledge. And so guaranteed one of them got elected, right? The incumbent, Sid Miller, the guy who, if you watch the video intro for this thing, right, with the music, there's a picture of Sid Miller and me while he's holding up my book, right? So Sid won his race, statewide elected official, one of our people. Yay. I mean, how excellent is that, right? But it gets even better than that, right? Because we still have people that are in the fight right now, right? And I'm going to look at my list over here, so nobody think I'm freaking out. But, we had a win. We had two of our State Board of Education candidates win their races. We've got one in a runoff right now, right? Then, of course, we had Brian Slayton win his race for state rep, and we'd love to have more coverage over there. But here's the other thing. Not only did Slayton win his race, Dan Matthews, House 76 won. Taylor Mondick, right? House District 95, both winners, right? They're going up against they got a heck of a fight on their hands, but they deserve our congratulations and support, because now they're going to go in November and they're going to go face Democrats that are probably not pro-Texit. So they need all the help they can get. Okay. And then Senate District 24, Raul Reyes is in a runoff. I mean, that guy needs help and support and encouragement right now, because he's one of us, right? He's one of us. He signed the pledge. He's in a runoff. He made it. Yay. And Ashton Murray. Ashton Murray's running for Senate District 26. He's a young guy. I had the pleasure of meeting him at the Alamo Heights Republican Women event when we were campaigning. Met him and his wife. Young guy, super passionate about Texas. Absolutely phenomenal guy. And he was surprised that the Republicans there hadn't run anyone in that district, because when they last decided to run somebody was like 10 years ago. That person lost by 900 votes, and they just chalked it up and said, we'll just give that one to the Democrats. But he's in it to win it, right? He's in it to win it. So he's going to go up against a Dem, and the way that they redistricted actually gave him a greater chance of success. But while the party establishment is writing him off, we owe him every ounce of our support and help and encouragement. That, my friends, is awesome. That's a win, right? And then let's not forget in some of the local races, Clay Rankin, who is actually on our national leadership team. He won his race for JP. I mean, that's a phenomenal thing right there, right? And then Mike Drury, phenomenal guy up in Wise County, right? Mike Drury won his race for chairman of the GOP for Wise County. I mean, these are all wins. And yeah, we're still going through and we're assessing some of these local races. And yeah, we probably should have had more people get through. But we can't be negative Nancy's and just say, well, because we didn't get everything we wanted, to heck with what we got. I mean, you want to talk about ungrateful? Let me just tell you, and this is what I told him on the call Monday. Do you know how many T&M Take Texas Back, Texas First candidates we had in the last election cycle? 0. We had none. The last time we ran a slate of candidates was in 2012, and there were 35 candidates among a coalition of organizations. That's how Claver and I first met, because he was putting together the coalition. He tapped the T&M, said, can you offer any candidates? And I said, I will not run for office at a state level. I will not ask anyone to run for office at a state level unless I've done it. And that's what happened. That's the whole reason I ran in 2012 for state rep. The entire reason. Because trust and believe, elected office is not really what I want. Not my thing, right? I'm not a politician. In fact, at that Alamo Heights Republican Women event, the lady at the table, she says, well, you have a politician smile. She's trying to be so complimentary. And I said, we just met. There's no need to insult me like that. There's no need. No, there's no, it's uncalled for to say nasty things like that to people, right? So anyway, I mean, what a phenomenal opportunity for us, right? This is what gaining ground looks like. Fights are going to be tough. I told him, I said, perspective. The last mile of a marathon is always the hardest. Not that I would know about running marathons. You can tell by my athletic figure, right? But you get the picture, right? Whether it's a marathon analogy or a football analogy of that last yard is the hardest, whatever it is, that last part, that's when they fight and things become tougher. But see, this tells you we're moving to another stage. Things are about to get really intense really quickly for the T&M and for Texas. And hopefully, if you're watching this, for you too, right? Hopefully for you too. Because this is not an effort that can be done with a handful of people. It can't be, right? It takes time and it takes effort and it takes people, but it takes committed people, right? People that are willing to put in the work, follow the process, do the thing. And when at the tail end of it, we got into the Q&A, I talked to them and I said, look, and we'll be sharing this, kind of the metrics and the goal and everything else we're getting ready to do. But when I talked to them about this, I asked during the Q&A, I asked them a question. I said, how many of you felt intimidated by the number that we are trying to attain in the time frame? And they, some indicated, yeah, it looked a bit intimidating, but I'm dealing with leadership here. These guys are tough. They're mentally tough. They're ready to see Texas independent. They're ready to charge the gates of hell with a squirt pistol, right? So, yeah, it may be intimidating, but that doesn't stop us. So what I did was I gave some perspective. And that perspective is that an article came out last month that Beto O'Rourke was fielding 44,000 volunteers in Texas to knock a million doors in the month of February, right? Shortest month of the year. They're going to knock a million doors, have 44,000 volunteers, right? So that means people that believe the kind of crap that he peddled about taking AR-15s and all that other nonsense. There's 44,000 of those people that stuck their hand in the air and said, put me to work. I will spend whatever my free time is, and I will go help you get the job done. Now, we're not going to let those guys outwork us, are we? I mean, we're not going to. We're not going to let these guys outwork us, and we're not going to let them show us up. So understand, it's about, you got to get some perspective. You're not going to get this by some magical piece of paper that you sign, right? There's none of that. It's going to take real work, as I highlighted in my book. If you haven't read it, go get it. It would be so awesome. So anyway, left the call, super fired up. Everybody's ready to go out there and get the job done, and they're going to need your help. So look, I make the ask again. Go join a local group. Help these leaders. Just they need to get it done, and they need your help to do it. And by that, you need to become a volunteer. Go to tnm.me/volunteer and sign up today. tnm.me/volunteer, and let's get in the fight. Don't let these people work alone. I mean, you guys aren't a bunch of Bernie Sanders voters, right? That are willing to let somebody else do the work for you, right? You don't like socialism in your bank account. You shouldn't enjoy socialism with your freedom either. Don't let somebody else do the work that you need to do to help you get free and independent. Okay. All right. So one last thing on that before I move along. So the next night, our local coordinator there in Tyler, Christina Drury, that was her regularly scheduled local group meeting there in Tyler. And she ran a program that she constructed herself based off of her own research and what she got out of the book and what the TNM had to offer, and a pretty lengthy phone call where we talked about this. But she did, apparently, according to the feedback, one hell of a job, and had a very active discussion on what the monetary system post TEXIT could look like. And so she sent the script over, sent the outline, and I think we're going to kick that off to Will and the video guys and see if we can't get another kind of instructional video like we have for so many of these others about erectile dysfunction and the illegality of withdrawing from the union, all those. So I think it's going to make the basis for a great video. And so congratulations to Christina and the guys out there in Tyler. And of course, to all of you local coordinators that are out there holding your meetings, that are busting your tail to get people there, promoting them, way to go. Thank you for being on the forefront of getting these local groups spun up. All right. So what has been happening? Well, let's talk about the convention, because that was the thing that I think was on everybody's minds, at least in the feedback that I've been seeing, kind of in the circles we're running in over this last week. As predicted, all of our people, as many of them as signed up to be delegates for their precinct convention or county conventions or SD conventions, went in ready to do battle. So for those of you that went in there and did your thing, thank you very much. We owe you a debt of gratitude, but also welcome to the fray, because that is where the rubber meets the road, right? You get stuck in a room full of people that are, by and large, they're either thinking like you or they're thinking like the establishment. And you have to go in there and you have to argue and advocate for a position. But before you even do that, you got to stop them from using parliamentary parliamentary tricks and tactics to scuttle your entire effort, right? Which is what happened all the time. And so one of the things that I shared with everyone, and I'm not going to share it tonight because the video is too long, but I shared a video that we have on the TNM website. If you go to our news section and just search for the word convention, you'll find the video. But it's the video of the floor fight that we had over this very same issue in front of 9,000 delegates and TV cameras from around the world, all there for the largest political convention in the world. And we forced a debate on the floor on the issue of Texas withdrawing from the union. Huge, right? But everyone was abundantly clear when you listen to the audio and watch the video. And if you were like yours truly and were there, you see the kind of tactics, the little tricks they pull to try to deny you your day, your say, squelch your voice. And the whole week we were there in 2016, they did it, right? Starting at some of the county conventions and SD conventions, they tried to do it. But when we got to state convention, they really ramped it up, dealing in some unprecedented types of moves. And then finally, it came down to a floor vote. And on that floor vote, it was clear that it was stolen from the people that voted to add that plank to the platform. So, it was a tremendous thing that I think everyone needed to see. So go look at that. Again, can't share it tonight, but go take a look at it. Excuse me, I need a handier cough button. Weather needs to make up its mind. Anyway, so that being said, some of our people got to see this kind of shenanigans firsthand, right? But beyond the shenanigans, they got to see something pretty doggone amazing, which is how strong the issue is in some areas among people that we were told 6 years ago didn't exist, right? How the fact that our folks went in to a room full typically of people that they did not know. They don't know them through the TNM, right? This is for most of these folks, a brand new crop of folks. And then being able to see the power of the idea of TEXIT among those people. And for that, I've got about a 5-minute video because we were able to get our hands on, courtesy of one of the delegates, the 5 minutes of floor debate in Ellis County on the issue. And so I'm going to play that for you. And then after that, I'm going to read you a report and show it on the screen from what happened in Galveston County. So buckle up. If you didn't think TEXIT was happening before, this will probably make you think twice.
Page 43.
This is concerning the referendum for independence. We get down to the resolution, please.
The whereas.
All right, Jason Watson, 1028. I get it that this is for a referendum, a non-binding vote. So at best, it is entertaining. And at worst, it's openly advocating to commit our state to treason. Absolutely. So, I'd like to make a motion to strike this.
Okay, do we have a second? Eric, second? Okay. Any further discussion for and against? For or against?
I'm for keeping it.
You're for keeping it, that's correct.
Randy Donovan, 1003. This is a non-binding resolution for the Republicans in the state of Texas to have their vote counted on what we believe in. Do we want to not be represented by our representatives? I talked to most of them are against this. Why are they against this? Why do they not want us to have our opinion counted? Every resolution I've seen today is what TEXIT believes in. All of that stuff is TEXIT. It's get the federal government out of our business. So I'd appreciate it if y'all would keep this sucker in here for entertainment purposes.
Eric, you're for removal?
For the motion for removal.
Okay.
I have not always lived in Texas. I grew up in Texas. I moved to Utah. I moved back to Texas because I want to be here. but I want to be part of the United States. I don't want to exit the United States. I don't think we have the legal authority to leave the United States. We have the legal authority to subdivide into 5 states. No other state has that authority. But we were not granted the authority to up and say, we're not part of this union anymore. A civil war was fought in the 1860s when states tried to do that. I don't want civil war. I recommend that we vote in favor of the motion to remove this resolution.
For or against, please.
I am speaking against removing this. Want to keep it. Amy Hedke, Precinct 1026. As the token anarchist here, I'm not really too worried about Texas or the United States. However, you did point out treason. I'm down for a little real treason. However, United States law doesn't recognize a vote as treasonous activity. It's when you actually levy war, the action behind that. So this won't be treason if we take a vote. It'll just be a verbal shot across the bow. And as a country that was founded on treasonous activities, kind of seems like it's the American thing to do. So I'm all for giving people options to express their views on what they think about the United States. So I'm for leaving this in. So for entertainment purposes. For entertainment purposes.
Okay, thank you. Anybody for removing? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
For what?
Closing
Oh, we're closing discussion.
Don't have to call it the closed discussion, it ends by rule. Okay. All in favor? I'm going to raise the hands, I'm sorry, if it was too much. And do you understand, if you vote for this, you're removing this from the platform? Okay? All in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. All opposed? Squad up. Okay. Let's see, that was page what? 4.
3 people tried to scuttle it, but the rest of the room was ready to have a vote on TEXIT. They're ready, right? I mean, it must suck to be the opposition when they get up there and they go, "Oh God, this is treason. It's going to be a civil war." And then everybody's like, "Whatever, you idiot." I mean, ouch. It must be terrible. Must be terrible to be them. See, this is why I tell all you guys, just open your mouth. Just talk to people. Sure, you're going to come across people that are not fans of it, but you're going to come across some people that don't know anything about it. But more importantly, you're going to come across a whole lot of people who are like that. Look, I don't care about the treason or, because we know it's not that. We'll talk about that here in a second. But I talked about it last week, how it's not. And you're going to come across people who wouldn't care if it was. They know that we have an inalienable right to govern ourselves. And they sure don't like what's going on up in Washington, D.C. So, yeah. So, thank you to Randy Donathan, who is, I believe, a brand new local coordinator or about to be, right? So, thank you, Randy, for getting up there and advocating and for making sure that those guys got shut down. And thank you for providing the video. But interestingly enough, on the flip side, right, here's something else that happened. And I saw a lot of communication from people in Galveston County, absolutely furious over the tricks that were played to shut them down. Right? So here is a narrative that came in from Walt, and this is what he said. He says, I can't believe how our referendum was treated in Galveston County. I show up and find out that it's not even on the list, yet it passed my precinct last month unanimously. So thanks to the help of Rhonda and Susan, and that's, two of the folks in our leadership, I found out what to do. I had to meet with the resolution committee behind closed doors to find out what happened. I initially showed up to motion for TEXIT to be moved up on the list. Long story short, after the panel grilled me about constitutionality, I told them I wouldn't be here if TEXIT weren't legal, constitutional, and necessary. It meets the criteria of all three, and I'm going to motion to amend and reintroduce. Then he says, now get ready. Here was their response. We removed it because we have to say, what if it makes it to the ballot and people vote yes? Now what? And I told her, then God bless Texas. But interesting, he goes on to say this, carrying on his story. He says, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. In other words, they removed it because they're scared of it. Hours later, after sitting through another interesting few hours of arguing among each other, the younger Republicans, I reintroduced it. Interestingly enough, the chairman allowed the younger Republicans to search and read from Google as they argued against allowing the Texas people to vote for independence. More interesting, then to top off the cake, the little huddle of young Democrats disguised as Republicans yelled nay in a circle. Of course, the chairman calling the vote for them. Okay, interesting. A couple from my precinct got up and walked out midday, calling the convention a crap show. I wish they could have stayed because their voice could have helped defeat the half Dems of the Republican convention. Very perplexing and draining to see how it turned out in my county, but so glad to see it pass in many others. But here's the important part of the story. He says, as for the resolutions committee removing a past resolution because, in her words, what happens if it makes it to the ballots if people vote yes? Think about that for a minute. We can all be ticked off over the home cooking that went on, yes, but look at the big picture. If TEXIT had 10 members of a committee in my county so scared that they'd pull a low blow and just wipe it away, hoping it goes away, that tells me one thing. TEXIT has gusto. So think about it. This is something that we have said just almost from the jump, right? But back during the time when we were pushing for House Bill 1359 and you guys were reporting back all of the resistance you were getting from these elected reps, what we said was this. If they know for a fact, if it does not have support, like some of these knotheads like Jeff Leach and Travis Clardy and those guys say, if it has no legs, then all you got to do is put it on the ballot and let's put this baby to bed once and for all, right? It'll go down in flames and then nobody will ever talk about it again, right? Except me, because I'm not going to give up till it gets done, right? But they won't do it. And the question is that many people have that they should be asking is, if they believe that it will fail, then why won't they put it on the ballot and prove, right? Why won't they? Because they know what we know. If it goes on the ballot and the people of Texas are given a fair, free option to vote on their independence versus being attached to that craptastic nonsense in Washington District of Criminals, they're going to choose independence. That's what they're going to do. And you heard the words right there. You hear it happen. Oh my God, well, if we put it on the ballot and people vote yes, what then? Oh, they're so scared. Oh my God. Wow. Because they know it goes on the ballot, it wins. Now, so we're still getting, and I saw some of the questions come in. I was looking at chat during the video. I saw some questions come in. We are compiling a list, and there will be an article on the site probably before the end of the week. We're still getting reports in, people that decided to go to their convention and didn't talk to us, right? So they got the resolution, they went. We don't know what it is, so we're still trying to mine out as much of that data as possible. But if you went to the convention and you introduced the TEXIT resolution or had a chance to debate it, and we don't have that information, contact us ASAP. We need to get our list complete, okay? So kudos to all of you that went out and did battle on behalf of the TNM and Texas independents. Kudos to you. Many of you got elected as delegates to state convention, and I want to let you know, because this question was asked Monday night, we will be having a sort of a 1 or 2 hour kind of presentation for those of you who are going as delegates to not only explain to you some of the process and what you can expect and things to bring and things not to bring, things to watch out for, but also to help you organize, get connected and plugged into the TNM effort at the convention. So be on the lookout for an invitation to that. But if you are a delegate to state convention, please, please, please reach out to the TNM ASAP. So that brings me to, and I believe it dovetails quite nicely into what's been going on with the media over this last week, right? It's not just been the last week, but just let me roll this over. So on the other side of the convention, right? I want you to remember that during the election, there were media outlets that spiked stories about the size of the effort of what the TNM was doing in the election cycle, right? With the Take Texas Back campaign. And then all of a sudden, it's all said and done. It's over. And then, boom, this article hits in the Dallas Morning News. I do this interview with Dave Lieber. Excuse me. He's what they call him, the watchdog over there at the Dallas Morning News. And I do this interview. And the big headline, almost 100 candidates from governor to constable pledge to support a vote on Texas seceding from the U.S. Man, I need to have like a class on the difference between secession and withdrawing from the union, right? I mean, that's a whole other thing. As a matter of fact, I think there is, for those of you that are members of the TNM, if you go to not the TNM Academy, but the TNM Reference Library, there's some blog posts in there, some previous Nation Builder meetings I did, and Nation Builder trainings on that specific thing. But anyway, he goes into this article, and it was interesting because when he interviewed me, he seemed shocked. He seemed just utterly amazed that this was happening. Well, how come I never heard about this? He said. I don't know. Ask your colleagues. It's not like we haven't been on the road and in the media and statewide billboard campaigns and social media advertising. I mean, we're all over the place, right? But if he wanted to know why he didn't know about it, it's like, go ask your colleagues about all the stories they spike. Okay. And I talked about this a little bit last week, and I'm not going to get into it, but just so you know, this set off a chain of events. Okay. Now, this chain of events, interestingly enough, led to an article that many of you probably have seen. This one that just hit from Business Insider, and it dropped yesterday, as a matter of fact. And of course, here we go. Right, here's the fear mongering. Texas secession, civil war, threats of violence, or worse loom over the 2022 midterm elections. I mean, can you get any more alarmist? I mean, it's just about as alarmist, although I will say I really do like that graphic. That graphic is pretty cool, right? But here's what they wanted to do, and what they failed to do is they wanted to attach the issue of TEXIT and what we're doing to a possible civil war. They are ramping up. Now, I want you to think about this, because you just heard it from the argument that was made on the floor of the Ellis County Convention. We fought a civil war over this, right? And then here, they're tying this issue into experts are not ruling out a possible civil war. Holy crap. That's the Business Insider talking about and reporting on experts talking about a possible civil war, when what we're talking about is the way that you avoid a civil war, right? This is exactly how you avoid the violence, is you let the people of Texas, give them the facts, let them vote on their independence, and then let us go. Let us govern ourselves. You guys go govern yourselves, right? You want to make it into a socialist cesspool, knock yourself out. That's your business. But Texas wants to do something different, and let us, like 140 other self-governing independent nations around the world have since the end of World War II. it's amazing to me how they just don't get that aspect of it, right? It floors me. But it's interesting again, and I say this because oddly enough, um, the only people that are talking about or threatening civil war are the pundits, right? That are saying that this could lead to it. It's interesting to me, but that's the narrative. And today, part of the reason I am all suited up, except for my jacket, which I hung up in there. But I sat down for an on-camera interview with Spectrum News, based out of, well, I think it's the one based out of Dallas, but it'll be all over Texas, right? I don't know if you guys are in one of the major markets, you probably get Spectrum News. But I sat down with one of the reporters. We did a virtual thing, and oddly enough, he didn't ask about Civil War. He never talked about it. He wanted to know sort of the motivations for Texas independence. He wanted to know about the constitutionality of it, which, just so you understand, if you come across any articles out there from like the Texas Tribune or any of these other people where they talk about how TEXIT is unconstitutional and da 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 and all that nonsense, none of those people have ever asked for an interview from us on this issue and asked the question. Not a single one. Not one. Right? So we've got Dave Lieber's article where he asked about it. He gets the answer. Article 1, Section 10 forbid states, not in the list. So 10th Amendment reserved to the states. Article 1, Section 2 of the Texas Constitution. Simplest argument in the world. If it's illegal, show me the law. If it's unconstitutional, show me the provision of the Constitution. If you want to talk about Texas versus White, that's awesome. We can talk about how subsequent Supreme Court rulings like Jacobson v. Massachusetts effectively gutted Texas v. White, and it no longer applies. And since they say, from their perspective, that treaty law is higher than constitutional law, then the moment that the United States federal government signed the United Nations Treaty and agreed to respect the right of self-determination, they destroyed Texas v. White anyway, right? So, I mean, I can argue that one to the cows come home, but they don't ask. But Dave Lieber at least talked about it, right? And then today I was asked on Spectrum News. So breakthroughs, right? And I suspect that part of it's going to make the Spectrum News interview, because it was shot as though it was live. So they'll edit it in like it was live. But it's the important thing that we need to understand is that now the media, some of the media, are starting to take a look at what's happening here, and they're taking notice. Right now, I want you to think about this. One of the largest centralized candidate efforts outside of a political party ever done in Texas, with over 90, candidates, almost 100 candidates. Largest support base outside of the two major political parties, right? We got more members and supporters than either of then we're the largest political advocacy organization in Texas outside of the two major political parties, right? That number obviously needs to go up more. I want to see that number at 1.9, 2.2 million, right? You can help make that happen. But the fact of the matter is that all of these things have happened, and it's literally what I talked about in the TEXIT book. Is it happening right now? Anyone who said that it won't happen or it can't happen needs to snap out of their funk, right? They need to let Will Smith come over and slap them awake to remind them, let them know that whether they think it's happening or not, or whether they think it can or will, it's literally happening right now. I mean, imagine for a moment. Imagine. We got legislation filed and people signed on to it when they said it would never happen. We were told it would never happen. It happened, right? We're being told that we'll never get a vote on TEXIT. We're going to get a vote on TEXIT. The plan that we are rolling out, that's going to involve you, by the way, is going to absolutely guarantee 100% that not only that we get a vote on TEXIT, but we additionally will have a secure election when it comes time to vote on TEXIT. So it's important stuff going on. But I want to let you know, the calendar is actually filling up, not just local groups that I'm going to go visit, but we're seeing requests for media interviews. We're seeing speaking requests come in. If they thought that slamming the door on us and screwing us over on March the 1st was going to suddenly make this go away, they are sadly mistaken, because our people are not discouraged. Our people are fired up. They don't like funny business in their elections. They don't like elected representatives tell them you're too stupid to vote for yourself, right? They don't like politicians violating the Constitution. They don't like a media that operates as a de facto propaganda organization for the political establishment. They don't like it. And so, guys, political establishment, you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. And what you have done is you, through your I don't even know the right word to say, but through your treatment of your voters, of the electorate, right? Through the disdain that you have shown to the people of Texas, the utter disregard you have for a constitutional Republican form of government, and the contempt that you have shown for our fundamental right to govern ourselves, you will now reap the benefits of what you have sown. And yeah, you can do whatever you did this March 1st, but you see, we don't quit. We don't get smaller. We get bigger. We don't slow down. We speed up. We gain more ground every single solitary day. So much so that Dave Lieber at the Dallas Morning News is in full freakout mode. The fact that Business Insider's writing articles trying to scare people that, oh my God, I mean, a civil war could come. Oh my God, it's so terrible. Texas could withdraw from the Union. What then? Well, I can tell you right now, about 45% of our income gets to stay in our pockets. That's a good one. No longer will we be suffocating under 180,000 pages of federal laws, rules, and regulations administered by 2.5 million unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats. No longer will we be at the whim of the pen of some unelected, unaccountable federal judge, and no longer will we be subjected to executive orders and horrible policies executed by perhaps the most mentally incapacitated president since Woodrow Wilson post-stroke. Right? No longer will we be denied the opportunity to secure our border and have a sane immigration system. No longer will 103 to 160 billion dollars annually of our money be siphoned off into the pockets of Washington bureaucrats or redistributed to states who can't figure out and have to have training courses on where their citizens have to go to the bathroom. No longer. Texas draws the line, and we say, this far, no further. And then we get to raise a flag up and say, we are good enough to be a nation among nations. Stand up and be a nation among nations, to do the things that nations do, like defend ourselves. Because do you really think right now, do you feel secure right now with that cadre? I mean, you might as well just name Washington, D.C. the island of misfit toys. Do you feel secure? Because I don't. Not from them anyway. I will rely on Texans 100 times out of 100 to defend ourselves more than that craptastic island of misfit toys out of Washington, D.C. But we don't have that opportunity. But we can, right? We can secure our border, have a sane immigration system, have our own national defense policy, right? Have our own monetary system, one that is not subjected to the whims of the printing press, of a disconnected economic system run by a bunch of bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. Huge. Phenomenal opportunity. And the fact that these guys, the media types, are in panic mode, and not all of them are. We've had some phenomenal interviews with people that are super excited about this. Can't believe they haven't heard about it. We say, well, look, if your ISPs weren't spiking our press releases, right? If only. Or if only your news editors and your newsrooms were not spiking the stories. You'd hear about it all the time. But we can't rely on the media. We have to rely on us. Each of us going out and speaking up, like Randy did in Ellis County, like so many of you did at the conventions, like all of these candidates who ran, unashamed, unafraid, saying, yes, I believe the people of Texas should be able to vote on independence. Or like I've got to continue to do, like I'm doing right here. Like so many of you do on social media or in your workplace or in your homes. Like I've got to get out here on the road to go speak to these nations. That's how we win. We put in the work, we go up, we speak up, we stand up, and we win. That's how it gets done. You want to how the sausage gets made? It gets made by those people that show up, that put in the work, that follow the process, that don't whine and complain and suck their thumb and give every excuse under the sun. It's like some guy the other day sent in an email. I can't be a part of the TNM anymore. I just don't have time. You know, I've got to take my son to baseball practice. And you know, I wanted to write back. You know, I understand people have different priorities, but I want to write back, say, maybe instead of taking your son to baseball, maybe you need to take him to weight training, right? Maybe he needs to do some weightlifting, because if we fail, he's going to need strong muscles to carry those chains. But, you know, I'm hardcore like that. What can I say? All right, guys. It's time to wrap this bad boy up. I've got a few minutes left. Just a quick reminder as we wrap this thing up. You know, I mentioned a moment ago that there are ways you can get out there and spread the word. And if you have not gone to the TNM's website, you have to be a registered supporter. Get out there and, you know, go do that. Go to the website. You know where to go. But once you're there and you're logged in, go to tnm.me/action. That's tnm.me/action. Find out all the ways you can help us spread the word and connect with Texans. We need to run that number up from that 400 some odd thousand. That thing needs to be, we need to be 1.9 to 2.2. That's where we should be. That only happens when you talk to people and compel them to action, not just blasting in their ear, you know, not just blasting and just giving them the verbal diarrhea and hammering them with every fact under the sun, but asking them and compelling them to action, giving them the information, and then getting them to take action, right? To declare their support, to be a part of the solution. That's how you win. Okay? I could hand out 15 million handouts about all of this. But until I have that interaction with somebody and tell them, not if this is something that you're concerned about, you have to do this thing, right? Information without action, inaction. That's what happens. It's great. Everybody loves knowledge, you know, but we're here to win. We're here to win independence, right? Otherwise we'd open a university, right? This is not what this is. It's not political education. It's political advocacy. That's what we do. So head over to tnm.me/action. You'll find downloads. You find all kinds of things you can use to be a part of the solution. And remember, if you are not already a member of the Texas Nationalist Movement, head over to tnm.me/join. That is tnm.me/join. Become a member today. Right? I get it. Somebody says, what's the difference between supporters and members? Members are supporters, but just a little bit more. Right. They're the ones you get access to all kinds of things, right? I mean, you get this whole section of the website just for members. You get access to exclusive calls. I mean, there's things, but what I tell people is it's a supporter, but just a little more. You know, it's somebody who says, okay, yeah, I'll support it. Yeah, I'll vote for it, but I'm going to do a little bit more. That understands that statewide billboard campaigns like the one that we ran back during the legislative session, those things don't come cheap. Yeah, we still have to raise money for it. Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot. It takes money, right? But that's what membership does. It's just you're a supporter, but you're a little bit more. And we need those. We need members of the organization. Okay. All right. Another reminder, too, super important. Let's bookend this because this is going to come in super handy. You guys, if you have any election irregularities you'd like to report, go ahead and drop an email to electionfraud@thetnm.org. And be sure to look up those candidates that I told you. We'll be getting a list together. That's, again, going to be an article on the site. We'll get a list together, but support our guys that made it through. They need your support. They need your volunteer time. They need your encouragement. They need contributions if you can give it, right? For many of these guys, they're still in the fight. Their campaign did not end March the 1st. If they're in a runoff, it's sooner rather than later. But if they're in the general election, understand the Dems are about to pour a ton of money into this place to back up all these Democrat candidates. So just be aware, Schumer and Pelosi money, Hollywood money about to flow into this place. So just be prepared. They need your support. Help them out. All right. Well, it is time to put this bad boy to bed. So let's go ahead and wrap up this week's edition of Late Night Coffee Talk because I got to get back to work. I mean, you can see I'm juggling things all over here. There's a monitor. I mean, there's things happening. So I got to get back to work. But look, I know that I did not have a lot of time to handle some of the questions tonight, and my apologies. I did get to see some of them. But as you can see, there was a lot to talk about, right? I mean, this is big between what's happening in the field, what's happening with the conventions, what's happening in the media. I had to cover all these things. Granted, I only have an hour, right? So this is what we got to do. But we'll see if we can get some of these questions banked up. We'll get these things done. I think I actually did answer some of these through the course of what I was talking about. I'll take a quick one. Yon Ramos says, does secession require executive action by the governor to happen, or does it just have to be done by a vote of the people or Congress? Here's the process. Legislation has to happen to enable a framework for the vote. Legislation to call the vote because we don't have one statutorily right now. We can't force one. So legislation requires majority of both houses' signature of the governor, right? So that's what your play is. You got to put enough public pressure to not just get it through the legislature, but to make any governor afraid that if they don't sign off on it, that they're going to be in political jeopardy. So it's a momentum thing, right? It's not a kind of a one-shot deal. You got to bring the momentum. But at the end of the day, all they do, their only part of this is to create the framework, the vote, aka what ballot does it go on? What does it say on the ballot? And when do people get to vote? That's literally that's their only interaction in this process ahead of the vote. Because at that point, their vote is equal to mine, which is equal to yours, which is equal to every Texan that gets a chance to vote on this. So, yeah. John Doe says, how soon can another petition be started? Funny you mentioned that. Not saying anything now, but understand that something is getting ready to happen that is probably not what you think, but similar to the question that you asked. And so I tease that only to say that this is a reason for you to get plugged into your local groups right now or start one because of what's going to happen sort of adjacent to that question. But I'll leave you with that. All right, look, we're gonna go ahead and pull the plug tonight. But look, I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight for a cup of coffee. I had my coffee. I honestly don't know which one it is, right? I mean, I really just blew in here at the last second. I mean, you guys actually caught me at the start of this trying to take a sip of coffee. But that being said, whatever it is, it's great. I'm enjoying it immensely, and I will continue to enjoy it for the rest of the evening. But I will leave you with this, as I do every single solitary broadcast. And it's the words of Sam Houston when he said that Texas will again lift its head and stand among the nations. I believe that time is now. And the question is, will you stand with her? Good night, everyone.